Hi, it's Susan from Worldpeacefull, and following my previous video, which was about Peace Pilgrim, it was a woman who awakened, who walked across the United States 7 times. She walked in excess of 25,000 miles for peace, which is probably about 45,000 kilometres. There was more. She actually walked a lot more. So she made a decision from her own unhappiness to seek peace, which took her through a process of ups and downs where she came into alignment with what she calls the life pattern, where she learned how to live a life where need equals want, where what she had was all she needed, so she didn't need possessions. She saw them as unnecessary burdens. And she trusted life and let go of all the fear. But as she said, if you read her book about Peace Pilgrim, you can get it from the website, she had to go through ups and downs. She had to face a lot of fear. She had highs and lows, peaks and troughs, until eventually she ended up having the peak experience and stayed there. So, like anybody on a path, we have to go through various journeys in order to find who we are. Now, I'm doing this video because I felt to talk about what I understand about peace, because people are going through a lot of difficult times. I have had a lot of experiences myself. I've wanted to end my life many, many times, not because of mental instability, but because I was stuck in a problem that I wasn't able to exit. Because I had a very strong yearning to understand the truth, I persisted. Not intentionally, I persisted because I just had no choice in actual fact, because I had to find the answers in order for me to step out of the pain that I was feeling. That journey that I've had, and I've had many, many challenges in my own life, many, from childhood as well. I suppose I might start with, actually I might go for a meditation to start first, just to come into the place of stillness, and I want to get really still. Then I'll talk to you more about how to manage this life that we're in a way that brings you to your highest potential, how to understand the nature of conflict, why it happens, what it really means, and I'm going to express sort of more of a broader worldview than what we've traditionally thought, because I've also discovered many enlightened teachers, not because I've been on deliberately seeking out these teachers. I haven't. I've found them. They've found me. Something like that has happened. Whatever it is, an awareness has occurred, which I know to be true. So the purpose of this video is to actually help you to deal with conflict and our ways and means of approaching it. So first I'll go into stillness, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, releasing all tension, breathing in truth, breathing out falsehood, breathing in love, breathing out negativity, breathing in peace, breathing out discord. So I'm feeling a state of relaxation to the point where I could actually close my eyes and go to sleep. I'm not tired, I just feel really peaceful. That actually was my clown name when I was clowning as a peace clown. Peaceful, full of it, full of peace, full for it. Humour, of course, is part of the peace process, most definitely. I'm bringing this video to you because I had a conversation tonight where I actually assisted someone who actually had a resonance with my viewpoint. I just want to sort of do a prayer say in that there will definitely be people listening to this who will say that's not true. That's okay. For you, it's not true. I'm in agreement with you. There'll be others that will say that's interesting. I'm not sure what I think about that. That's fine. I'm in agreement with you. There'll be others that go, yep, that rings a bell. I get that. I might listen to this again a few more times. That's fine too. Oh, I am yawning. See, that's how relaxed I am. First things first. Peace is joy. That's the first thing. I'm really lucky. First thing I will share is that I don't feel hate towards people, and I just don't. I get angry, yes. I'll just tell you the negative side. I stamp my feet. I get upset. I cry. I feel powerless. That's been one of my big issues that I'm working through. I feel fear like other people feel fear. I get nervous, you know. But where I'm really, really lucky is that I don't feel hate. If it's moved through me, it moves through me momentarily, but it's never, ever held on to because I know better. And what I mean by that is I know that it's not true. That's actually something I've always known. I've always loved people too. That's ever since I was a little child. My mother actually said to me last year, I think, she said, even when you were a little girl, you used to love everybody. And I did. And I still do. That's why I was a clown, because I could go and hug everybody. Because I don't know, I just love people. I love people very much. And I'm really hoping for their happiness, which is why I do what I do. You know, I'd love people to feel even, you know, something of what I feel. And there'll be, of course, other people out there who feel way more than me. But I do feel happy, and I know that it's real because I don't own a house, I don't own a car, I don't have a partner, I don't have children that I know of. I don't have really anything other than the things that I've kept because I felt they may be useful for my peace work. But having said that, I always have a house, I always have a car, I always have food, I always have friends, I always meet people. I'm never alone. Even when I'm by myself, I'm never alone. So it's not a question of, oh, how sad you haven't met the right person. It's not about that. I choose this life, and it's because something in me wanted to live on that edge. I did want to live without a home, and I did want to live without money, which is what I'm doing now. I'm actually living on faith right now, which is part of the peace work. Peace Pilgrim, who you may want to have a really good listen to about, I've talked about her, but I was reading from her words in the previous blog. Highly recommended. This is someone that was awakened. I'm awakening, but I'm not awakened. I have moments, but for the most part, I'm still working it through like everybody else. So what is being awakened? This is complete fearlessness. Those who are awake on the planet have literally awakened to who they really are. It's happening all over the planet. I've met people as I travelled who were exploring this as well. And what it is, some people might say it's an awareness that you are one with this higher intelligence. It's to do with oneness. Oneness is a very hard thing for us to understand when we're living in a world of love and fear. These are the oscillations that anchor the consciousness on the planet. So we oscillate between intense love and intense fear. And whichever thought we choose, it manifests our life in that direction. There are infinite possibilities, and what that means is you have infinite choices. Every choice creates another life. Literally, you are creating your life thought by thought. You can create, you think about it. Just think, you've had an idea, I should go off in that direction. I should go and ring those people. And then when it comes to doing it, you change your mind. You say, I'm too scared. No, they won't think much of me. That's the negative thought process dampening down an inspiration that's come to you. If you've come from a family where you've been criticised, the various dynamics of families will mould who you become. We have family ideologies. They could be with that family, could be passed down from other relatives. Ways that we think, the ways that we talk, the way that we interact, the pecking order in the family, personality types, the culture that you come from, your gender, your age, all these things impact on the moulding of who you become. Some people or some ideas may well be coming from webs of relationships. So in truth, every human being is a web of relationships. Their parents, their friends, their society. These are literally intersecting waves, if you like. You could look at it as concentric waves intersecting. I'm just trying to see how I can do this with the video. So all these waves, you know how you've got waves and then you've got, I'm just putting some circles, imagining rain coming down. You have a circle, then another one, then another one, then another one. These are the intersecting waves. In fact, I know what I'm going to do. Inspiration. I'll draw it. I'll draw some lovely stick pictures for you. I'm always listening to inspiration. People go, oh, what's inspiration? It's actually coming from your highest thought, and I follow it. I've always followed it. I trust inspiration. I will never act on a negative thought because I don't want to hurt anyone, ever. I see no satisfaction in causing pain for any other human being. Even if they cause me pain, I have no desire to cause them pain. I will speak truth, and I will follow my impulses wherever they take me. And that's not some sort of psychology. That is trusting the moment, trusting the feeling that comes. If it's in alignment with truth and love, I go with it. If it's not, I know that there's something within me unhealed. And it's the same for every single person. Whenever you think a negative thought, there's something within you unhealed. Now, I use the word unhealed, and I'm sort of getting the feeling to sort of say what that really means. You're actually not unhealed in truth. Once you awaken to who you are, you're actually fully healed. So what we're really saying here, when I say we, I'm sort of saying a lot of philosophers, enlightened people that I've come across, because I'm bringing in their knowledge as I'm speaking. The unhealed thing is your belief about yourself. Whenever you see yourself limited in any way, that's you unhealed in respect of seeing yourself partially, not fully. Or fully, I like the word there, full. I'm a clown, so full works for me. Anyway, I just want to do the concentric rings. I'm sure you know what I mean in respect of webs of relationships. Please excuse my amazing drawings. So what I've done here is just concentric rings. Now, it would be like that. You meet more people. See? Just constant. Life is constantly like this. I'm actually seeing a flower of life developing here. Okay? Constantly. So you're the little dot in the middle. So we might just bring some. There'll be other rings like this. And on it goes. So you are not just a separated cell You are totally mixing it up. And another way of really seeing that is, even if you look at mobile phones and the wireless, if we were to colour those wireless waves, you would be seeing masses of waves all around you from all the mobile phones. It's the same with human beings because we're energy. That's why when you come into the room you have a feeling about someone or you feel their energy, it's because you have a whole energy field around you and it's intermingling with everyone else. When people attract, their fields actually are what connect and they get pulled together because there's some sort of resonance happening. Or they can be repelled. You just go, I don't like that person. Something about them I don't like. And that you feel yourself pull back. It's because your energy field has touched theirs. It's the same with, I've written in my blogs, prostitution or sexuality. When people come together, their energy fields mix. That's why it's so important. You choose wisely when you go into partnership with anyone because your fields will mix. So going back to a peace philosophy in life, okay, I'm going to bring in some of Byron Katie's work because she's fundamentally influenced me, and I found her at a time in my life where I was really asking. I wanted to find peaceful transformation. I was studying in Bangkok on the Rotary Peace and Conflict Studies program. Now this program, we read a lot of literature on peace building, on conflicts, personality types, peace itself, the various practitioners of peace. We looked at things like disarmament, counter-terrorism. We had practitioners from the field. We had intelligence officer. We had activists who had worked in various parts of Thailand. We went across the border into Cambodia, met various people engaged in trying to deal with conflict. We talked to a lot of NGOs. We met more activists who had been into the jungles. It was quite a fantastic course that I was on because it was both theoretical and practical. However, whilst I was studying this, I'm feeling this very strong pull towards transformative peace. We looked at a lot of conflict, a lot of the mapping and the dynamics, but for me personally, I was drawn to transformative peace. So what I was thinking of was it has to be the peace that transforms. We transform from these conflicts into peace. So I just went for a Google search and I found Byron Katie, and when I found her, I knew straight away that she was a world teacher, without doubt. I'll explain to you a bit about the work. I'll say drink my cuppa. The work of Byron Katie is the most profound teaching, I think, on the planet because it's simple. It doesn't come from any ideology. It's not religious. It's not overly theoretical. It isn't complex at all. But I'll explain a little bit about her background, which brought forth this work that she's teaching now around the world, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, are connecting one way or another. She was depressed for 10 years, and she was very, very difficult to deal with, to the point where her family had to put her in a halfway house. She was barking at people, really angry, dealing with a mother-daughter relationship, her own mother she had issues with. She used to do business from her bed. She was a real estate agent, in actual fact. Anyway, her self-esteem was so low that she slept on the floor. She would not sleep on the bed. She wasn't good enough for the bed, so she slept on the floor. She explains that one day she literally woke up. A cockroach ran across her leg, and she literally woke up. I'm going to put it into the wording that she said. Now, people will find it hard to believe, but To be honest, I don't really mind. Life is many, many things, and all I would say to people is keep an open mind. The way I deal with concepts that I may not necessarily instantly resonate with is I kind of have the juggling balls up in the air and I wait and see whether at some point it resonates. For people who are of a religious or spiritual nature, they won't find this hard to understand, but for those who don't believe in this stuff at all, they will definitely critique that possibility. So when she woke up, she said, "It woke up inside me." What is it? Well, we'll find out. She said, stood up, walked to the mirror, fell in love with the woman in the mirror. She said all her life disappeared. So the persona, the history of Byron Katie was gone. There was an absolute void. She was in that stillness completely, in perfect peace. This, whatever this was that woke up within her, was amazed. Everything was one. There was not what we would call the concept of a window or a door or a brick or a roof. It was all literally one. So her consciousness, or the consciousness, shifted. It's like even when you have a realization, suddenly you don't see the world the same anymore. People who've been into war zones, they've lost everything. Their consciousness shifts. They may well be less fearful because everything's already happened to them. What's there to fear? So after that, she said she was like a light glowing. People found her very strange at first, well, until she normalized it. She said that she had this expansive consciousness beyond space and time, not contained within the mind. You've got to remember that we're coming at this world from brain neural networks that have all been programmed into our brain. This is a biological design, if you like, a blueprint. We think in certain ways because of this. If you lost your brain, you're not thinking. So you can say that biologically speaking, all our senses have been designed. Now, if we were to remove this physical body, what is it that we experience? Now, what has been said is that it's all consciousness. It's all alive in thought and beyond thought. They call the beyond thought awareness. So what she said was, when this awakening happened, she said the work was born inside her. Now, the work is very simple, and I'll explain it to you. You have a negative concept that you're believing, because all our stress, all our unhappiness is directly connected to the thought we believe about what's happening to us. I mentioned earlier powerlessness. If you feel you have no power, you then feel vulnerable, you then feel maybe afraid, or your survival somehow is being threatened. You may have a lot of emotions that are triggered as a result of that, which in many respects is clearing you as well. So when you allow yourself to feel what you feel without a story, you're actually clearing yourself. It's a suppression of emotion that actually is causing a lot of the mental, if not all of the mental health issues on the planet. Any form of suppression is actually shutting down that vital energy within each human being. And when we push it down, it has to find an avenue or a channel in which to release. Now, some people do it through violence. They get really angry and they release a lot of energy. That's lifting the lid, if you like, on that suppression. Others can become distorted in lots of ways. They see the world, they're very negative towards the world. They look at it with a really negative story because they've never allowed themselves to truly feel their pain. They become more numb as well as they try and keep shoving it down. Men are particularly vulnerable to this because of the psychology of what it is to be a man. So they have a much more difficult time than women. So going back to Byron Katie and the work. Now the work is 5 questions and what she calls a turnaround. The first question is, it could be about the world is going to end is a good one, because everyone thinks that at the moment with Trump and North Korea. First question is it true? Yes or no? You say, yeah, it's true, it's going to happen. He's got his finger on the button. She would say, I don't want a story, just say yes or no. And we're talking reality here. So the world is going to end, yes or no? Is it ending? You go, no. Okay, it's no. Can you be absolutely sure that the world is ending? Well, where I'm sitting right now, the world doesn't appear to be ending. How do you feel, how do you react when you believe the thought that the world is ending? I feel frightened, I stack food away, you know, I live this day as my last day, that could be a good thing. I'm really worried for my children, I feel a lot of fear, I'm depressed, nothing I can do about it. Then the next question is, who would you be without the thought? So if you looked at the world without the story that it's going to end, what do you see? Well, I see everything that's around me without a story. I just look at it and the world hasn't ended, so the world's still here. Then she goes to the turnarounds, to the opposite, to the self and to the other. So the opposite would be the world, from the world is going to end to the world is not going to end. Give 3 reasons why that's true. Well, I can see that my world is still here. I know that the physical world is still happening out there. The world is not going to end. I don't know the future. Can't know that. So this is how you interrogate for truth. So that's to the opposite, to the other. The world is going to end. Another's world is going to end. The world is going to end. The world is not going to end. My world is not ending. Or my world is ending. My world is not ending. See how I'm just turning it around? I'm playing with the concepts. So the world is going to end. My world is going to end. Is that true? My world is going to end. Well, no, my world is not ending. I'm still here and conscious and alive. I'm not noticing anyone else's world is ending. So you sort of play with this, turning it around. This person's jealous of me. Is it true that they're jealous of me? Yes or no? Yes. How can you be absolutely sure that they're jealous of you? Well, no. What do you feel? What do you think when you believe the thought, this person's jealous of me? I feel uncomfortable. I feel criticized. I feel that they're judging me. I feel unhappy. I feel misunderstood. You know, this person is jealous of me. Who would you be without the thought? This person is jealous of me. If you looked at the person without the story that they're jealous of you, well, they're just a person doing what they do. Turn it around to the opposite. They're not jealous of me. Give 3 reasons where, in your experience, they've not been jealous. And you'll find plenty of answers there. Turn it around to yourself. I am jealous of me. I am jealous of them. Projection. I'm jealous of them. Give 3 reasons where that's true. Well, you've been jealous of them. I'm jealous of myself. I am jealous, you know, and on it goes. So this is sort of just playing again with turning around. So what I'm doing is I'm turning around, because all negativity is projection. How interesting is that? Imagine a theatre projecting onto that screen. So the mind is projecting onto the screen of the other what it cannot own within itself. So what we're not honest enough about within us, or we're just not able to see it, sometimes we need experiences in order to surface things that we can see better, because they're very deeply buried. You'll find a lot of childhood stuff comes up throughout your life because it's happened in early childhood and you haven't known how to clear it, but something comes up that triggers. So Byron Katie is really talking about who would you be without your story. She says we only do a few things in life. We sit down, stand up, lie down. So 3 things is all we ever do in life. She also states that only the moment is real. The future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist. So when we're holding on to stuff, and unfortunately in circumstances we have to keep repeating these things because we're not resolving the conflicts. If there's non-resolution happening, these things continue. That's why conflict resolution is very, very important, so that the person doesn't have to keep reliving the story and doesn't keep recreating it. So when you start to understand that all negativity is projection, only love is real, and what that means is every single person is innocent, even those who you might deem as the enemy, bad person, whatever it is you've labelled them with. And that's not to say some people haven't got negative intent. They do, because they believe their thoughts. They may have been role modelled into negative behaviours from parents, from friends, fallen in with the wrong group. They may have very low self-esteem, their personality type, their level of development spiritually may well place them in a certain space where they're not very aware. They're quite unconscious in what they do to people. They may not even notice when they hurt people, emotionally or physically. There's a whole myriad of issues that humanity carries, and most of it is unquestioned because we're not taught peace education in schools. We're not taught values-based education other than what's housed within our culture or within our religion. Sort of cultural norms may shape our behaviour as well. So when I say the thing that everyone is innocent in their own way, they're really coming at life from a space where they don't know that they don't know. That means they believe that they're right because they've never questioned their thinking. It's termed as ignorance because they don't know that they don't know. So believing that they're right, acting out of ignorance. This is why things get repeated. War crimes happen, domestic violence keeps happening because they don't know that they don't know. If they knew, they wouldn't do it. That's one of my very strong beliefs. If somebody knew, they wouldn't do it. They're obviously coming out of a space where they're believing something which justifies what they do, even if it's a negative action. So my peace philosophy comes from that perspective of they don't know that they don't know, and that's okay. The reason I say that that's okay is because I don't know the purpose of their journey. I don't know why they're here on the earth. I obviously have an awareness that we continue after death. I did near-death research. I know from those I spoke to that they definitely died and came back. There have been enough cases for me to be convinced that indeed we move on. There have been various stories where people have described past lives whilst alive, and they have been able to validate. They knew the people in their family, they knew the name, they knew the town that they lived in, they knew how they died. There was one case, I'm pretty sure her name was Bridie O'Murphy, and I would have talked about her before. She was an young American woman who kept having all these recurring visions, if you like, of a place in Ireland. She saw her family. She was a mother. She had 4 children. She died giving birth, I think, to her 5th child. Very, very poor. She was able to draw the town. She was drawing the church, and she felt compelled by this. She was saying this from very young too, like 2, 3 years old. She was drawing pictures. Her husband at the time encouraged her to go to Ireland, and she did with her son. She found the village that she had been in. Now, this was within this lifetime. And what I mean by that is her children were still alive, but they're in their 80s. And here she is, a woman around 30. She found her children. She was able to tell each child specific memories about their lives that only their mother knew. Children said she had the same eyes as their mother. One of the children couldn't accept it, but the other 3 did. They knew it was her. For some, I think the reason was that before she died in that previous life, she was determined to find her children and make sure they were okay. She didn't want to leave her children. The powerful feeling of that was so strong that she came right back into the next life. So she was reincarnated as a young woman in United States. She came in as a child, but within the scope of this lifetime, so she actually could go and see her kids. Can you imagine that? So I'm coming from a perspective that I know we live on, and many years ago I did want to do a lot of near-death research because I wanted to shift the paradigm. I felt that if people understood that they've lived before, they might live a better life this time. If we think this is all there is and it's a big dark void when you pass over, that's pretty scary. But what I also wanted to convey through the research that I've done is that people are taken through life reviews. So whatever they've done in their life, they're shown. They're shown from many aspects. And the purpose of that is for you to learn. My understanding is that there's no purgatory unless you believe there is. So what your thought creates, it really comes off the reality of we create what we think about. Law of attraction is what you think about, you bring about. The more you focus on it, feel it, taste it, touch it, it happens because you have that much power. This is how we create through consciousness. So this is what changes the whole paradigm in respects of who you are. Now, there is other information which I'll give you, which is pretty mind-blowing, but I've had to spend many years looking at this, and I was challenged. It took me a long time to come to terms with it because it really was a paradigm shift. My understanding, and this is again coming from Byron Katie as well, is there is no mistakes. Your life unfolds exactly as it's meant to. Do we have choice? Well, yes, we have choice. We can create in lots of ways, but at the same time, it's pretty complicated. At the same time, you create your reality and it unfolds, and there is a certain amount of predestiny to it as well. You meet who you're meant to meet. I've had deja vu in my own life, so I know that somehow I'd had that experience before and I recognised it because it was really clear. I had that when I went to Britain. It was actually on the way back from Heathrow Airport to where I was staying. My husband at the time, he had deja vu on the same trip, but at a different point. So it was like this sense that I'd lived there before. I remember I lived in a place called Kilburn. Can you believe? This is in London, inner London. And the street we lived on was called Shoot Uphill. And there was an Irish quarter. It was an Irish quarter. All the IRA used to hang out there, apparently, in some of the pubs. So that was really interesting. But I remember looking out the window one day, and it's the same words that come to me. It was like a Manhattan skyline. I just suddenly saw this skyline, and I recognised it. deja vu came. I remember really clearly today that experience. So things are not as they seem, is my point. You meet who you're meant to meet. We are here to learn. We've got experiences to have because there's things we're here for. Now, how does that all come together in respect of conflict? If we look into the work of Esther Hicks, Law of Attraction, what is stated there is contrast is absolutely necessary in this reality. What that means is when you clash with people, our ideas clash, for whatever the reason we have conflict, we're meant to clash because in the clashing, something comes out of that. A desire comes out of that. And the desire might be, I don't want to fight. The desire is, why is this happening? I want to understand what this is about. This is how we grow. As soon as the question comes, we start to attract into our life answers and situations and people. We're like magnets. Law of attraction says like attracts like. You might repel, or you may not even connect with someone who's very different. You may well clash with someone who's very different, and there might be a likening there in respect of being both insecure, or on some level there's something that's attracting, even though personality-wise you may clash. There may be similar insecurities, similar problems, issues. That's why sometimes people will say, whatever problems you've had in your childhood, you might meet a partner who resembles your father or your mother, depending on your gender. And that feels familiar, even though it's unhealthy. It might happen a few times, something here to learn from that experience. What is it that I'm here to learn? And pain will force you to find answers, you know. I've learned a lot about power dynamics. I've learned a lot about empathy and the lack of empathy. I've learned a lot about communication and poor communication because I'm here to understand peace, you see. So obviously conflict situations in my life are great opportunities to learn something. I see everyone as a teacher, so I have no enemies ever. And because I don't sit in really strong judgment around people, I know that I don't know as well. Like, I look at them and I don't know. What do I know about this person's life? What do I know about their motives? I can only guess. I can only assume. But until really you're face to face, and if there's a willingness to be honest, you're not going to know. Or you might get a sense. I mean, there is intuitive reality too, and I have intuitive things. Through poetry particularly, I've found a lot of answers. As I opened myself up in my search for truth, that became a very powerful intention. And as a result, law of attraction brought me information. Law of attraction is this universal law that like attracts like, that we're magnets, we attract. So even, and this is coming into conflict in respect of the international level, I always thought the best analogy I heard was really from the law of attraction, where the person who was communicating this higher knowledge was saying that, imagine there's a well-stocked kitchen. And she said, let's say you come into that kitchen and you've got a pie and you don't want the Tabasco sauce to get into your pie. If you keep saying, I don't want the Tabasco sauce, get that Tabasco sauce out of the kitchen, get rid of it, throw it. I don't want it to get in my pie. The law of attraction states what you think about, you bring about. You will get the Tabasco sauce in your pie because you focus so hard against it. So that then follows that if we're labeling things as enemies, whatever it is we're focusing on saying, I don't want that, you attract it. And she's also talked about how people, when they realise they're thinking on something, they go, oh, God, I've got to stop this, suck it back. You know, don't think it, stop thinking. It takes time for it to manifest, so it's not an instant manifestation. And you have to really feel a lot of passion around it in order to create it. So you'd have to be really thinking about it, feeling it, imagining it, but you're imagining that you've already got it. So if it's peace, you imagine peace, you know it's coming, you can feel it. That's how it works. If you want to, if there's something that you're wanting, you know, in my case, maybe it's a house, somewhere to live. I actually do have a knowing around that anyway. That's not actually hard for me. I always find a place to live, always. Always have food, always. Oh, there's been times when I've had low money and not a lot of ability to buy much, but I seem to be quite okay with that. You know, I'm pretty easygoing. So the law of attraction is really fascinating. Globally speaking, when we're working out conflict, and this is where in Bangkok, when I was there, my inner feeling was to not focus so much on the conflict. Yes, get a sense of it, conflict map it, but really the real work is in peaceful transformation, which is thinking about what you're wanting and focusing on that. Rather than seeing the enemy, like in the case of Trump and North Korea, you're not going to go, he's communist, these guys are backward, you know, he needs to be taught a lesson. Who does he think he is? I'm going to show him. That's combative, adversarial, flexing muscles. You might do a bit of a military exercise just to let them know that you mean business. You could be dangerous, scare them off. This is what often happens. A lot of diplomatic stuff comes in. They're trying to find ways to meet in the middle. This is good. But the law of attraction would be that you would actually see yourself shaking hands with the other. You would see a complete de-escalation. You would see that you're learning stuff from this experience and that this is a good thing. You would look to what it is you want to see happen, and you would not deviate from that. So the White House PR people would spin in a way that sees it de-escalating, sees it there, not just to appease the public, but you're actually feeling it, expressing it, imagining it, because world peace is what you're wanting, okay? But if you see World War III, if you see destabilization in the world, if you have a fear of communism, fear of China, fear of Russia, then you attract to yourself what you fear. This is not a partial statement. This is fully what you're doing. Why conflict keeps perpetuating. Our poverty mentality is another example where we feel we've never got enough. Even people who have a lot of money feel they need more. This is to do with the egoic structure too of consciousness. So they're constantly looking for more and more and more, to be bigger, to be bigger, to be bigger. And of course that's endless. But when you come from a mentality that what you have is what you want, you don't need more. You're actually at peace. You feel grateful. I'm breathing. My body feels good. I've got my family around me. You know, these are all the things I feel happy about. When you live in that state of being, you actually find peace because there's nothing that you really need. So the way I'm thinking these days is what I've got is what I want. The world is out to do me good. Even if I'm in a conflict situation, the world is out to do me good. Why? Because I'm learning from the experience. I'm getting enormous insights. Insights that I could never have had I not had the clash. I'm here to learn who I am. Everyone is my opportunity. to find out who I really am. And what I mean by that is, you will get challenged on various levels. You have to see how you're going to respond to that. What is it that you see as a result of that? What is it that comes into your experience that expands who you are? This is wisdom, where wisdom comes from. All wisdom is knowledge applied. It's not theoretical, it's actually lived. Once you live it, you've had it, you're wise to it. In the future, you may avoid it. Or, you may be able to advise someone that you've been there, you know what this is like. This is the power of peace. I have another mantra that I say, which everybody's doing their best, given the way they see the world. I also say the truth sets you free, and I mean it. Even if you don't like what you're hearing, but it's based on truth, or it's, in my case, my own truth. I'm stating what I believe. But Byron Katie would say the only truth is in the reality of now. Truth is right now. Once I move beyond now, in my mind, I move into the future. It doesn't exist. The past does not exist. The things we hold on to do not exist. They're just imagined. That can even be in relationships. You're with someone, but you're still seeing them the same way as you've seen them 20 years ago. You're in an imagined relationship. In fact, every single person, according to Byron Katie, have never met. People go, well, how's that possible? I meet the person, I talk to them every day. Your projected idea of who that person is what you see. Not occasionally, every time. You can never know another person. I can't know other people. I can only get a sense of what I think they are, but it'll always be coming from within me. Whatever you're feeling is coming from within you. No one does it to you. It's something that you've believed. It's a very complicated concept, what I'm saying here, because it's very easy to believe, well, that person's been really rude to me. They've ruined my day. They only ruin your day if you agree with them, what they're saying about you. This is really important, this bit. When you agree, you attract it. You may not know that you're agreeing. When you feel bad, that's how you know you are agreeing with someone negative, because you feel bad. That's the same energy in which they're projecting their thought about you. It's negative. You feel bad. When you feel good, when you feel happy, when you feel laughter, you're in alignment with your own truth, because that's exactly who you are. So when people go through life having really unhappy lives, it's because they're really believing something someone has said to them. Maybe it was in their childhood, and they believe it's true. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm a fraud. I've heard that one many times, where people feel even at work they're a fraud. That they're not really, people aren't really seeing them. They're not really that good. They might look good, but they're not. There's a lot of stuff they feel shame. They feel inadequate. They feel jealous. They feel, stressed. And all stress is a fear response. No one makes you stressed. You make yourself stressed. Anxiety comes up because these are feelings that have been trapped, that have not been liberated yet. They haven't been expressed. That's why I'm a really great believer in expression, but in a good way. I mean, you could sit, you could have a session where you reconnect with feelings you've had in the past that have been very painful, and you allow it to come out, and you cry it out or you scream it out. These are really healthy approaches to suppressed emotions that have not been allowed to come up. It has to come out. When you have a feeling, you have to feel it all the way to the end and then release it. If you suppress it, you trap it in the body, in the emotional field, and then someone comes along and triggers it without you realising it. You blame them, but in actual fact, it's something trapped. So the ones who are awake have no trapped emotions. They're completely freed. Other techniques are breathing. Michael Brown, he's an excellent teacher. He's awake as well. He just talks about breathing. So breathing in, breathing out. He does it like this. He goes, now he does that and it stops the thought process. Any emotions that are trapped come up. He did that and he actually had a really debilitating pain that drove him to the point of wanting to suicide. He knew if he didn't sort it out, if he didn't figure it, he's gone. He's not going to stay. He tried all the techniques that were out there and he said the only thing that worked for him was breathing. Because you're going into presence. Present moment is where everything's happening. This is where the power is in the present moment. I can choose to believe a negative thought or I can choose to believe a positive thought. When I believe the positive thought, it feels good. When I believe the negative thought, it doesn't. Because it's out of alignment. So the peace that we're seeking in the world will only come into full alignment or recalibration is when we start to educate public on how to bring themselves back to who they really are, which is being present in the moment, questioning their thinking, turning around projection, examining what it is within you unhealed, and learning to be grateful for every single thing you have in this life. That's your abundance. In actual fact, it's got nothing to do with money. And recognizing through the power of consciousness and thought, you can actually create your reality. And that's not a huge leap if you think about the positive thinking revolution, where they talked a lot about envisaging what it is you're wanting. You know, people put it into the framework of goals. Your objectives, your aims and objectives are the same kind of thing where you're thinking through where I want to go, you know, what I want as an outcome. This is all, in many respects, learning the law of attraction. You've got the money, so you're investing into it. You know you're going to do something. We're doing it anyway. This is just articulating it. So if we want peace in our lives, we have to examine what it is that's creating the conflict. Sometimes people come into our lives to challenge us. There's no mistake in anything. That experience is happening because on some level you're meant to have that experience in order to know who you are. You can either do that or you can say they're an enemy, they're causing me this. The moment you blame someone for your own situation, and that's not the same as stipulating this is what happened, that's not blame. Blame is you're causing me this. That's not to say the other isn't engaging in behaviours that might be negative, but at the end of the day, if you're believing it on some level, you might be feeling low self-esteem or whatever it is. Pain is something that's happening within you. When someone is physically violent, they're having pain, emotional pain, which they're projecting through physical violence. They're not able to get it out emotionally, so they project onto other people their pain and anger. That's why people can be very aggressive, because they've not dealt with the pain that they're feeling. And when you start to realise that all anger is a call for help, wouldn't it be lovely to be able to walk across the room and assist that other? If you can't, well then maybe they will find their own way through their own life experience. Another aspect of all of this is the world is already at peace in respect of the planet. The planet is at peace. If you go out into nature, you feel the peace. It's all there. You'll notice there are moments of peace in your life that are happening a lot. It's just that we get, in a sense, the word terrorise came to my mind by a negative media, negative people who keep reminding us of how awful the world is, and so we start to believe that the world is not a good place, when in truth the world is a very beautiful place. The beauty within you projects out onto the world, and you will see the world as it is. And imagine, you come into money. Suddenly you shout at everybody because you feel abundant. If you're in poverty, you may not. Well, you can't. You think you can't. You're limited. So in this peace philosophy, there's an unlimited nature to it. Once you realize you're abundant and that what you've got is what you want, then you never feel limitation. If you don't resist people, if you don't think bad thoughts about those people, if you don't send out that negative energy, if you're always sending out for truth, for peace, for love, for compassion, for understanding, then the world will mirror that back to you as well. So I think that's a lovely introduction to peace. Peace is already on the planet. It's just a question of you recalibrating thought forms that have been taught to you over centuries that are actually out of alignment with who we really are. Every person is empowered when they believe that they have the power to create the change in their own lives, that in truth they are creating the times they're moving through, given the thoughts we're all believing. If you wish to change the world, you've got to start with your own thoughts first. You've got to heal your own life first. Then you are in a position to be of service to everybody else. So with that, I send you peace, love, and truth. Thank you.